A very good afternoon to all the students of class 9. Today I'm going to take on the first lesson, The Fun They Had, written by Isaac Asimov. And I'm just going to take up the main points as if this is a kind of a revision exercise, okay? So first we have a little detailed summary of the chapter, point-wise. Now in this chapter, the writer is trying to give us an imaginative idea of schools of the future. And he conveys this idea through the imaginary story of two children named Margie and Tommy. Margie is 11 years old and Tommy is 13. And their story is placed in the year 2157, and it runs like this. Now, the proof that we have about this story that has been given is through a diary entry made by Margie on the night of 17th May 2157. And she was in the habit of making these diary entries, and that day something special had taken place and she wanted to make a note of it in her diary. And she began the diary entry by saying, "Today, Tommy found a real book," and with an exclamation mark. Now, this exclamation mark is there because it was something very, very new for her, for both of them rather, and something very unusual. So there was excitement about this book that had been found by Tommy. It was a very old book, and it was found in the attic in Tommy's house. Now, attic is that part of the house which is below the roof, and sometimes it serves as a storeroom also, or sometimes people, make it into a playhouse for children or to keep things. So this was found in the attic where most of the old things are kept. Now, this book was very, very old, and this we come to know when they describe the book, that the pages had turned yellow and crinkly, okay? Yellow because of the passage of time, and crinkly, it had got, lots of folds in it. It was crumpled. It was not a new book. It was a very old book. And Margie's grandfather had once told Margie about such books. So Margie's grandfather had told Margie that his grandfather had mentioned to him about these books and about, things or stories or printing when it was done on paper. So Tommy lived in Margie's neighborhood, and that day he had come to Margie's house and he showed her, an old dusty book. Dusty because it was in the attic. And he said that he had found it in the attic of the house. The two children turned the pages of the book. The pages were yellow and wrinkled or crumpled or crinkly. Now I've given you synonyms. So in your MCQ, if you get what is the meaning of wrinkled, and you have choices. So crumpled and crinkly are also synonyms for wrinkled. Now the two children saw that the words stood still at the same place in the book. And this was very fascinating for them because they had telebooks, They used to see everything on screen where the words moved. So this was something very unusual for them, and they found it rather funny. And they kept turning the pages and going back to the previous pages, and then they noticed that the words remained in the same place. There were no changes, okay, change in the position of the words. Now this, as I told you, because this was different from a telebook. Tommy thought that such a book was just a waste because after reading it, one could throw it away. And on the other hand, the television screen could have on it millions of books, and they did not have to throw it away. So this was their point of view when they saw the book. Now, Tommy told Margie that the book was about school. Now, Margie fails to understand what Tommy said because they had never heard about, a school, a building where children went. So she was rather taken aback and, that why would somebody write something about school? Because school was nothing so interesting. School wasn't anything exciting for Margie. And she wondered that why somebody would write something about something on a school. She was very scornful about the idea. Now, scornful, contemptuous, okay? This means to look down upon something. So she was trying to ridicule the very idea that somebody had taken up this topic to write a book. Because she herself had always hated school. But then Tommy told her that this school was a different kind of a school and very much different from what they were experiencing. Now, Margie's school was in her own house. It was next to her bedroom, and she had a mechanical teacher to teach her. And the teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and Margie had been performing pretty badly. Her scores were not good, and her mother was very unhappy about it. So she had sent in for the county inspector to see what was wrong there. Now, basically, the word county. Now, county is a territorial division in some countries, and it is the chief unit or the smallest unit of local administration. That's what is a county. But here, when we're talking about a county inspector, so the meaning would be the county inspector was a technical expert who identified errors in the working of the mechanical teacher, and he was responsible to rectify those errors. Now, this his appearance was, he was short, he had a red face, and he was a round little man. And along with him, he had a box which was full of tools with dials and wires, because he had to repair the mechanical teacher. He had to rectify the fault that had come in the mechanical teacher. And he smiled at Margie and he gave her an apple. Now, for MCQs, it's very, very important because you can get a various choices. He gave her a pineapple, oranges, grapes. So remember, he gave her an apple. Then he took the mechanical teacher apart. He opened up the machine. Margie had thought that the county inspector would not know how to put the mechanical teacher together again as a child, because she did not want the fault to get rectified, to get repaired, because she was not very happy about the whole thing. So she thought that maybe he would not be able to do it and it would take some time and she would get a good break. But he knew everything all right, and he was able to complete the job in about an hour. This also for MCQ could be there. How long did it take him? 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 month? But it just took him about an hour, 1 hour. Now the big screen of the mechanical teacher was on again, and it could show all the lessons and the related questions. Now, Margie didn't feel so bad about answering the questions. She was ready to do that. But the part that she hated the most was the slot where she had to put her homework and test papers. Now, what is a slot? A slot is basically, it's a opening, a narrow opening or a slit in the machine where things could be inserted, where the papers could be inserted. Just as you have an ATM machine, okay? So where you, there's a small little slit and you put the ATM card there. So this was also the slot. It's an aperture or an opening, okay? Or a little gap or a little hole, a slit, so that the papers could be entered. So that was the part which she hated the most. She had to write them out in a punch code. Now, what is a punch code? Now, this punch code is a kind of a computing language. And this is a code in which there is a normal keyboard and we can type on it, and the resultant word or sentence is in a predefined mechanical code which machines and robots can understand. It's already fed in, okay? And it is known by the presence and absence of holes on a sheet of paper in a particular pattern to signify the words. So it is a kind of a computing language. Just as you know, for the visually impaired, you have the braille, which have these raised words written over there so that they can identify and then they can type. So this is also kind of a computing language. And Margie knew everything about the punch code, and she had learned how to use it at the age of 6. So remember again for MCQ, what was her age? She was 6 years old when she had begun to use the punch code. After that, the county inspector patted Margie's head, and he smiled at her, and he told her mother that there was nothing wrong with the child or her performance. It was only that the matter that had been fed in the geography sector, it had geared a little too quick. You know, the adjustment had gone wrong and the level had gone up for Margie. So she could not attempt those questions. So what had he done? He had rectified it and he brought down the level to a 10-year-old child's level. And Margie was 11. So he rectified that error, that the level had gone up, so he made that new adjustment. And he patted Margie's head again before leaving. So he patted her head how many times? Twice. Once in the beginning and then once when he left. But Margie was quite disappointed because she thought that he would take long and maybe, you know, she would get some time to be away from this mechanical teacher. Because once it had happened with Tommy also, his history sector had blanked out completely and it had taken a month to get it rectified. Okay, so these are the problems that we come across with technology. A human teacher, this is not possible. So now when Tommy said that the book was about school, Margie couldn't quite understand it. She didn't think anyone would like to write about school, so she was very scornful about it, okay? Very contemptuous about it. At this, Tommy told her that the book was not about their kind of school. It was about a different kind of school. It was an old kind of school that had been there many centuries ago. And Tommy explained to Margie that those old schools had a teacher, but it was not a regular teacher, but a human being. What do you mean by a regular teacher? He's comparing it with their mechanical teacher, which is always there, very regular, and it's very methodical, and everything is fed in, and you press the button and everything starts off. But human beings are not like that, okay? They are not the regular kind of teachers because each teacher has a different way to teach. And while teaching, so many changes can be brought about, you know, so many examples are given, you can deviate from the topic, or, you know, somebody adds stories to make the lesson more interesting. So human beings, he said, were not those regular kind of teachers as the mechanical teachers, not methodical or systematic that way. Now, Margie had never heard of a man or a human being as a teacher. She had always been tutored by a mechanical teacher, and that also in her own schoolroom. And she had never thought that a teacher could be a human being, a person. So she was very surprised. But at the same time, she thought that a mechanical teacher is smarter than a human being, okay? And she felt that a mechanical teacher would know more because, I mean, she had never experienced a human teacher, so she was very much in for the mechanical teacher. Secondly, she said she didn't want a strange person to walk into her house to teach her every day. At this, what was Tommy's reaction when she said this? So Tommy laughed on hearing this, And then he told her that a teacher in those old days, they didn't live in the house of a child. There was a special building where they went to teach, and all the kids went there to learn. And Tommy also told Margie that all the children of the same age were taught the same thing. There were no adjustments made according to each child's age. And a mechanical teacher, on the other hand, had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each different boy and girl. Now, they were curiously going through the book, and they had not even finished half of the book when Margie's mother called out to her. And she said that it was time for Margie's school. She said that it was probably time for Tommy's school also. So Tommy, he tucked the old dusty book under his arm and he walked away whistling. Margie immediately went to her school room, and the teacher was ready to instruct. Okay, it was on and it was waiting for her. Every day was the same process except for Saturday and Sunday. And Margie's mother had fixed regular hours for Margie to study because she believed that little girls learnt better if they studied at regular hours. So the screen was lit up and the mechanical teacher began giving her lessons in arithmetic. So MCQ again, which subject did she go in for after it was repaired? It was arithmetic, and it was about the addition of proper fractions. Then the mechanical teacher directed Margie to put her previous day's homework in the proper slot. Okay, and Margie did this with a sigh. This was the part which she did not like very much. And then the mechanical teacher started with the lesson. But that day, Margie was a little inattentive. Why? Because she was distracted with the thought about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little child. And she was thinking, Margie was thinking about the fun the children had in those old days. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came there. And they must have laughed and shouted in the schoolyard, and they sat together in the school room. They went home together at the end of the day, and all the kids being of the same age, learning the same thing, they could help each other on the homework. They could discuss if there was any problem and they could sort it out together. So thus Margie kept thinking about the fun children could have in those schools of old days. So this is where we get the title from, the fun they had. So at this point of time, Margie is going back to those times when those schools were there, when the children enjoyed learning in a different kind of an atmosphere. So the fun they had, the children in those old days. Okay, so that is all about the chapter. Now I'll just do the short, one-line answer kinds, which will, I think, help you with your MCQs also. Now children, before I begin, I would just like to tell you that please don't forget to learn the names of the poets and the authors or the writers, because 1 mark, each mark counts, So for your MCQs, you can get name the writer or the poet, and then it's you feel so bad if you lose out on that 1 mark, which you could have actually got easily. So don't forget. And for MCQs, some say it's very easy, some say it's difficult, but I say MCQs are very scoring, provided that you have gone through the chapter very thoroughly, line by line, because MCQs are framed from within the chapter. So if you've read, the chapter thoroughly, line by line, carefully, MCQs will not be a problem. Okay. How old were Margie and Tommy? Margie was 11 and Tommy was 13. What did Margie write in her diary? She wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." What was the date? The date was 17th May 2157. Okay, and that is the proof where the whole story comes, because of this diary entry that Margie had made. Had Margie ever seen a book before? No, she had never seen a book before. What things about the book did she find strange? The words in the book stood still, and the pages showed the same words when they were turned back. What do you think a telebook is? A telebook is a book that can be read on the television screen. Where was Margie's school? Did she have any classmates? It was the Margie's schoolroom was right next to her bedroom, and Margie did not have any classmates. What subjects did Margie and Tommy learn? They learned geography, history, and arithmetic. Next question. What kind of teachers did Margie and Tommy have? They did not have human beings as their teachers. Their teachers were a kind of a machine attached to their television screen, and they were called mechanical teachers. Okay. Why did Margie's mother send for the county inspector? Margie was not doing well in her geography tests, and each performance was getting from bad to worse. So her mother got worried and she was unhappy about it. So she sent in for the county inspector to check if there was any error or fault with the gadget. What did the county inspector do? The county inspector saw that the mechanical teacher was geared a little too quick for Margie. The level had increased. Okay, so he adjusted, he took the gadget, he took the machine, and he opened it up, he took it apart, and he slowed it down or adjusted it to an average 10-year-old. Next question. Why was Margie doing badly at geography? What did the county inspector do to help her? Margie's mechanical teacher had geared up and the level had, gone haywire, and the county inspector slowed it up to bring it down to Margie's level. 10-year-old child's level. What had once happened on Tommy's teacher? Now, Tommy's teacher, the mechanical teacher, had blanked out completely, and to set it right, it had to be taken away for nearly a month. Did Margie have regular days and hours for school? If so, why? Yes, Margie had regular days and hours for school because her mother was of the strong belief that little girls learnt better that way if they were regular and at regular hours. How does Tommy describe the old kind of school? Tommy says that the old kind of school was a separate building away from one's house, and children from the neighborhood went there together to learn. How does Tommy describe the old kind of teachers? Tommy says that the old kind of teachers were men, human beings. They didn't live in the child's house. They had a special building, and all kids went there to learn. Okay. Next question. What did Margie hate more than ever? She hated school more than ever, and above all, the part where she had to enter her test, in the slot, that was the worst thing ever. Next question. Who sent for the county inspector? Mrs. Jones, Margie's mother, sent in for the county inspector. What did the county inspector do on seeing Margie? He smiled and he gave her an apple. What did he do with the mechanical teacher? The county inspector, he took the machine and he took it apart and he rectified it because he was carrying a whole box of tools with dials and wires. Okay. What is a slot? Now, a slot, as I have just told you, it is a long, narrow aperture or a slit or an opening in a machine for something to be inserted. Okay, so the test papers and everything had to go in through the slot. And the language or what was the process? It was the punch code, which Margie had learned at the age of 6. Next question. What did Margie not know much about? Margie did not know much about the old kind of schools. What did Tommy tell Margie about? He told Margie about the teachers and the kids in old schools. Where did the teachers not live? They did not live in the child's house. What special building has been referred to by Tommy? It was the school building of old days. Where did all the kids go and why? They went to school to learn. Next. What teacher was Margie's mother talking about? Margie's mother was talking about the mechanical teacher. What had to be done with the teacher and why? The mechanical teacher had developed a fault as the level had gone up. So it had to be adjusted to fit the mind, of the child studying, and that was Margie. The subject was geography. Okay. Which word in the passage means gave a long, high-pitched cry? One word for that. And the word is screamed. Screamed. Okay. Where was Margie's schoolroom? It was right next to her bedroom. And where was the mechanical teacher? It was in Margie's schoolroom. What was the mechanical teacher doing? It was waiting for Margie to come and begin her lessons. What days did the mechanical teacher work? It worked on all days except for Saturday and Sunday. What did Margie's mother say about learning by little girls? Margie's mother, or Mrs. Jones, said that little girls learnt better if they learnt at regular hours. What screen was lit up? The television screen was lit up. What lesson was Margie going to have? Margie was going to have a lesson in arithmetic on proper fractions. What did the screen ask Margie to do? It asked Margie to insert the previous day's homework in the proper slot. Which word in the passage means not including? Not including means except. Except. Next question. What did Margie do with a sigh? She inserted her previous day's homework in the mechanical teacher's slot. Why was it with a sigh? Because as it is, she was, her mind was revolving around the new school building she had heard about. And then she was not very happy with her whole learning process. So it was a sigh. Okay, she was not very excited. She was not happy at all. And when you do things that you are not happy with, then it doesn't come out happily. Okay, so your body language also complements the task. Okay. What was she thinking about? Now, Margie was thinking about the old school and what kind of life those children enjoyed and all the fun that they had. When did they have old schools? They had old schools when her grandfather's grandfather was a little child centuries ago. Who came to learn to the old school? All the kids from the whole neighborhood came there. What did the kids do in the schoolyard? In the schoolyard, they laughed and they shouted, they played around together, and they had a lot of fun. What did they do at the end of the day? At the end of the day, they all went back home together. Do you think Margie liked the old kind of school? Yes, definitely she liked the old kind of school because she was not at all happy with the present scenario. Okay, find a passage find a word in the passage, sorry, which is the opposite of separately. Opposite of separately is together. Together. Okay, so I think we have tried to cover quite a lot, but let me see if I could just get a few more. Now, at present, it is 2021, okay, and we are talking about future times 2157. So, how many years ahead are we talking about? So, if you calculate that, it comes to 136 years. So, after 136 years, she wrote the diary entry, okay. And who found the real book? Tommy found the real book. Real book means that words were printed on paper, not on screen. Okay. And as I told you, synonyms, if you have any difficult words in your lesson, so please look up the synonyms because MCQs can be framed on that. Which word means the same as, something like that. So like I told you about the pages of the book, wrinkled, crinkly, yellow, crumpled, they all mean the same thing. Okay. What was the difference in words on screen and the book? So on screen the words were moved, but in the book the words did not move. And why was the book a waste according to Tommy? Because he felt that after reading it, it's finished and you just have to throw it away. But on a television screen, you can just press the button because it has millions of books and whatever you want to read gets displayed on screen. Okay, who had read more telebooks? Margie or Tommy? So it's actually Tommy because Tommy was 13 years old and Margie was only 11 years old. She was younger, okay? So she had read fewer books, okay? Where did Tommy find the book? Tommy found the book in the attic, okay? What made Margie scornful, okay? That somebody had taken the trouble of writing a book on the school. So she was very scornful about it. Scornful, contemptuous, okay? And she ridiculed it, okay? Why did Margie hate school? Because she got a test after test. It was always there. If I asked you, give the correct meaning of a mechanical teacher, and if I give you the options, a computer program to teach children according to their age, number 2, to teach mechanics, number 3, a computer course, number 4, none of the above. Which one would you choose? So the option that is correct is a computer program to teach children according to their age, okay? Test after test was given in which subject? Geography, English, math, social science. So you know it is geography. And when Tommy was studying, which subject had blanked out? It was history. And who called the county inspector? Mrs. Jones. It was Margie's mother. Give a description of the appearance of the county inspector. Supposing you get options. Round little man, number 2, red face, and he came with a box full of dials and wires, and all of the above. So what would you put? All of the above, because that was the general appearance when he appeared, in the lesson when he had come to rectify. What did the county inspector give Margie? Pineapple, grapes, orange, or an apple? He gave her an apple. Okay. How much time did the county inspector take? About an hour, a month, 2 hours, 4 hours. It just took about an hour. Okay. Which part did Margie hate the most about the mechanical teacher? the program, the slot, the screen, or none of the above. It's basically the slot, because there she had to insert her homework and her test papers. Okay. The slot part of the mechanical teacher was used for A, inserting test papers, B, inserting the queries or questions, C, inserting the homework, D, both A and C. Now the first one was correct, inserting test papers, and B, inserting queries, was wrong. C, inserting the homework, is also correct. So you have two options, A and C. These two things were inserted. What was the language used by Margie, to insert the test papers? What was it? Punch code. So when the other things come like Python, JavaScript, and etc., it is the punch code. So you straight away tick mark the punch code. Okay. When had she learned the punch code? As I told you, it is 6 years. So just mark 6 years. Now sometimes in your MCQs does not give or does not match or is not correct. So you have to see which statements are correct, and the one that is not correct, please read the question very, very carefully. Supposing like it's correct meaning of slot. Time or opportunity, A. B. Fit easily into. C. A language aperture or slit. D. Visibility. So we know it is a long aperture or slit. So aperture, I've told you, an opening, a narrow slit. Okay, so that it is. So you just have to mark that. Please read the questions very carefully. What do you mean by, what is the meaning of geared in the line that the geography sector had geared, too fast? That means the level had been raised and then it had to be adjusted to a particular standard or level. Okay. Now, correct meaning of the word loftily. In the passage, there's this word that is there that, Tommy said something very loftily. Now, we do talk about lofty mountains and huge mountains, but here it is loftily. So, loftily means that he spoke in a manner that shows that he thought that, he was better than the other people. So he's trying to laugh at Margie's something that she said. So he answers very loftily, trying to prove that he's a little superior. And what was the shocking thing for Margie about school 10 years ago? That they had human teachers. Shocking. Shocking was human teachers. Funny was about the words. Okay. Okay. As I told you, what was Tommy's reaction to Margie's comment on any strange men coming to her house? That he laughed loudly. Okay. Give the correct meaning of the word nonchalantly. Coolly, casually, carelessly, all of the above. Now, the meaning of nonchalantly means casually, to talk in a very casual manner, okay? In a very casual manner, easy manner. So that is nonchalantly. Okay. The rest, I think I have given you all the details in the one-liners. And meaning of virtual. Virtual means real, okay? Virtual means real. Okay, I think that is all that I wanted to actually tell you. And just one little part, that's something that you, if there's something that you have to write in but actually this is MCQ, So differences, like you can say that a mechanical teacher can be monotonous, can be boring, and to write with the punch code is not so interesting, and a mechanical teacher has no emotions and sentiments, and they don't have the ability to understand the psychology of a student, whereas a human teacher has all these good qualities. And the best part of going to a school is, it's so much fun, and for the overall development of the child, a school is a must, because it's not only about learning to read and write and things like that, but there are so many other things, that you learn so many good values and qualities like sharing and caring, obedience, respect, kindness, and then you have sports and games, which are very, very important for the overall development of a child. So if you get questions like that, obviously mechanical teachers, maybe if we talk about the future, they may be there in that way, but they cannot supersede a human teacher, that's for sure. Okay, so though we are dependent on technology, but ultimately, it becomes so much more lively, so much more interesting when you are interacting, with the teacher. Here with the mechanical teacher, there's no interaction. It's just a one-sided affair. That's just showing things on the screen and you're just taking it, but there's no interaction as such. So human nature needs interaction and some fun. So I think I've tried to cover up as many points as possible. So hope you benefit from it. And thank you so much for watching and listening. God bless you all. The next video will be on The Road Not Taken. I'll try to revise that too. Thank you so much, children. God bless you all.